Well, I think all plays should be parties, and that's really my driving mission in life, is to reinstate the social culture in theatre going. I have three reasons for it. The first one really is because I think the social interaction that one has with either whoever you bring to a play or the people performing the play is the only thing that makes that particular experience uniquely live. Otherwise, we're just passive watchers, which is the same thing as film and television. And I think I'd just rather be in my PJs in my own living room, if that's going to be the transaction I have with a piece of art I've come to enjoy. For the second reason, if we look at every huge social theatre culture, if we look at every theatre culture in history, many of them have been social cultures. We think about the communal festivals of the Greeks. We think about the mystery plays in York. We think about the Restoration. We think about the Groundlings in Shakespeare. There's a huge component in which the ability to use the play itself as the magnet for social activity in and around the theatre has always been a part of our culture. And really, it wasn't until after Ibsen that we've created this way of watching theatre that requires uninterrupted focus and attention, which in my mind is quite unnatural. So I love to create an environment where it's looser than that, and that in some sense every audience member will get to sort of choose their own adventure. And the third reason why I think, the idea of a party is so important is because I like my audience to come in and encounter something I've created in a spirit of celebration and not in a spirit of judgment. And of course, I have to do my job well, but there has to also be an invitation from the artist to allow that engagement and that communication to happen. And that on some level, all of us are just people sharing an experience together. And I've always believed this, but, the meaning of art is rendered profoundly richer by our recognition of the human effort behind it. And, the very basic example I always cite is if you go to see a play and a family member or a friend is in it, you're going to work harder for that play to be good and for your friend or family member to be wonderful in their role because there's a personal investment. So I've always thought if I can create that level of personal investment in someone who might not know anyone coming into the party that is my play, we're all going to work harder for us to have the night of our lives. And isn't that the only point of making plays?
And it's how Ed and I began working together. We did a play in his living room for 60 people a night, about 25 performances in a month, which happened to be The Further Adventures of Hedda Gabler, performed here by me as Hedda, and Billy Porter as Mammy, and it was the most unexpected thing I ever did, and it transformed my way of seeing audiences and seeing myself. To come to the audience with this incredible generosity and not audience interaction, as I dread audience interaction, in the way that someone's dragged up on stage and made an example of. No, this is inclusion. It's like a radical inclusion of people from the minute they walk in the door. And then two people can come and after the show have had quite different experiences of what they saw.
I like that word, inclusion. It's funny because I think, the kind of theatre that I make in New York is very often referred to as immersive or socially immersive. Sometimes those are just confusing labels to me because really what we're both after is to remove the wall between the performer and the audience entirely, and to really allow this thing that happens to be a transaction in this moment together, in a way that will never be repeated again, to really celebrate everything the theatre can do the one night that we have it all together.
And to approach the audience really authentically, so it's not like, oh, the director's concept is that we're going to say, to actually really come at them from my role as writer, everybody, crew are invited as well, to actually interact with the audience so that the show is done as a gift for them. In nearly everything I've done, I approach comedy as a way of disarming audiences so that you can actually then move in and really touch them because you've said, in a way, I trust you. When you're making someone laugh, it's this agreement to say, I trust you. And I've always said comedy is, a way of like shaking the bark off people. So even if they just see a show and laugh and laugh and laugh, they're transformed by it and a little bit more open to change in their lives, as I think everyone wants to be. So, for me, I'm going to say to them, come to Head Over Heels because it is so much fun. You'll have such a good time. And you will. And I think the secret of the show, for me, is going to be that it actually does have this incredibly deep heart. And I'm writing it is like with more sincerity than I've written pretty much anything. And that I think it will also be moving on some surprising level for people. And that's what I like about comedy, is you can do that.
I think what I love most about Jeff's work is that he's obviously wickedly, wickedly funny, but he comes at everything with this reservoir of heart and with such a sincere intention to understand why people do what they do. And when you place tears and laughter in a place where it's surrounded by music, which is always going to be the portal to the divine, you're going to set the audience up for a completely transformative experience, and I will demand nothing less.